economy,
Great resignation,
artificial
layoffs,
intelligence.
AI is making it harder for younger people and grads to get their first jobs.
Every good movie has a plot twist, and the year 2020 gave us a massive one. The script of work got completely rewritten overnight. The lockdown forced and popularized remote work. Mass layoffs hit traditional industries like print media, travel, hospitality. Freelance platforms blew up for both freelancers and clients. The Zoom economy became normal overnight. Meetings, internships, conferences, online, and permanently changed decades of professional norms. When the world shifts this fast, the extras and the side characters wait in line for someone to tell them what to do. But the main characters, they start carving out their own path. So here's your wake-up call. The story has completely changed and rewritten itself. Following cultural norms or rules that were embedded in your mind years ago isn't the safe or smart path. So what is the safe, smart path? That's exactly what we're going to get into today. Hello, my name is Danae. I'm super excited for today's yap. If you're watching on YouTube, by the way, you can also listen on Spotify at Pretty Philosophical with Danae Seaton. And if you enjoy what you hear, I also have a newsletter. It's basically my videos in written form on Crack directly in your inbox, which you can also find in the description at prettyphilosophical/Danae. So from a very young age, we are brainwashed into living a very specific life, a life that drives the economy along in a specific way that benefits whoever's in charge, whether it's politicians or the owners of big corporate enterprises, you name it. And I don't use the word brainwash as a conspiracy theorist or to fearmonger. The school system in the West is designed to make you think and act a certain way. You follow instructions, you do your homework a certain way. You can ask questions, but not too many questions, especially if the questions seem like you're thinking against the grain. There's this idea in high school that when you get to university, nobody's gonna drive you along like we do in high school anymore, so you better prepare in this specific way. The real world is hard. It's designed to keep you fearful. You want to dream big, but not too big. You go to school, you go to good uni, you get good job, you get good paycheck, you have a decent family, you retire at a good age, maybe you'll get to travel, you'll go to some cruises, maybe you'll go to Florida, maybe you'll retire in Florida, or if you're crazy, you'll go to Europe or something like that. Nothing inherently wrong with that, but I think within this kind of formula, it drains you of your humanity, especially if you feel like within all of this, you don't have a choice. You get the job because it gives you a specific pay, and even if it drains your soul every day, you need it to survive or to get the next step, to have the wedding, to pay off the debt, to do the things that are, again, a consequence of this specific path that they tell you to do. And it's all under the guise of safety. You do this to have a stable, safe life. But when you think about it, what it really gives you isn't safety, it's predictability. Predictability is knowing this is what's going to happen next month and the year after that and 5 years down the line and 10 years down the line, just like how I can describe the whole kind of life that this specific formula may give you. That's what predictability is. But safety and security is actually knowing that no matter what, if the predictability changes, you can hold your own. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the script and the formula is changing before our eyes. Things are not as predictable anymore. In fact, they're changing at a rate that I don't think the world has ever seen. So the illusion of safety that is actually just predictability is actually crumbling in front of our eyes because of this. So even if you play by the rules and you do the formula correctly, you're not guaranteed exactly what you're seeking. The system, the plot, the storyline can change overnight, as we've literally seen over the past 5 years. Therefore, the only real safety left is ownership. Ownership over your income, your identity, and where you go next and how you do that. Main character energy is never about aesthetics, because in order to have that strong main character aura, you need to be the writer of your own story. You need to have authorship. You can't be the main character with someone dictating every single area of your life or a majority of your life. And the biggest area of most people's lives is how they make a living. So the people who thrive in this new era, this unpredictable era, as we've already discussed, are those that own their script, their skill, their time, their money. This is why freelancing is having such a boom. And I'm so grateful that in 2021, I just happened to be graduating university. If you're new here, I'm 25 years old. At the time, I decided in 2021, I made the decision that I wanted to freelance, couldn't get a job, was seeing the great resignation, decided, wait, I'm going to make money online, ended up doing freelance marketing, built a multi-six-figure freelance business in 18 months, and I've never had a corporate job. Freelancing not only gave me a unique view on making money, but also designing your life. I think truly that freelancing is life authorship. But as I say, the vehicle is through how you make money. How you make money is like 90% of how you live. If you can have control over this, if you can be the author of that part of your life, you can design your life in a way that doesn't numb your soul or numbs it this to the degree that you would like it to based on what your goals are.
Hey cutie, sorry to interrupt our little yap session, but I do have some exciting news. I'm hiking in the French Alps right now. Beautiful view. Shout out freelancing for allowing me to do this. Actually, I know that a lot of you that watch me are interested in freelancing. You're not really sure how it's going to work, but you are desperately seeking to make 2026 and beyond your main character year, especially when it comes to your finances and work. So I've been putting together something super fun, main character year workshop, which is going to take place on November 24th. The link to sign up is in the description. Last time I held a workshop in July, over 300 of you showed out on the Zoom. Sign up before spots get filled up. Entering your main character year, building the freelance business that you want, requires you to make an intentional decision to do so. It's not just going to happen out of thin air. So this is designed to be your first step and positioned perfectly. So you don't start on January 1st. You enter the new year with everything you need. Can't wait to see you guys there. Okay, back to yapping. Bye.
And at the core, freelancing is really simple. You have a set of skills just like you would at a job that someone hires you for, but you master how to sell it to the direct person that needs it, which is a skill in and of itself. You ensure that the setup benefits you, but it also is a clear investment for the person that you've sold the services to. Suddenly, you're designing the plot of your life. I don't say this with rose-tinted glasses. It actually goes against my best interest to say that freelancing is not the answer for the great shift that we're seeing in the world of work. Because again, it is not in a job, it is not in a client, it's in yourself. And that's the message I'm trying to get across today. I think freelancing is a great vehicle that is a representation of betting on yourself. As I learned through the journey of doing it myself, because I remember feeling this disgusting pit in my stomach as a 21-year-old looking for a job in the pandemic times and sending so many resumes, seeing other people get jobs that maybe they got through friends or family, or they just really prepared in advance. They had some hookup or they just happened to have an internship. I wasn't aware of all of these things. And when the time came, I felt so inadequate, especially as somebody who prided themselves in academia. I was getting good grades. I was doing the thing. So why am I here now, not in the position that I want to be in? I hated not being in control of that. Freelancing as somebody who was disciplined and had a good work ethic and could follow a vision or create, I realized that freelancing actually allowed me to do all of that. And if I could bet on myself, then I could increase the chances of securing what I wanted, which at the end of the day, it's money. Because as a freelancer, people think, oh, what if you lose a client? Well, what if you lose your job? This is why the beginning of the video was so important, because the job gives you predictability. But then when you lose your job and your whole life is dedicated to this 9 to 5, you're not actually courageously curious and upskilling and being in the industry and seeing all the different tools and things that are happening in the industry because you're so focused on the job. When and if you lose that job, you're cooked. As a freelancer, you're forced to have a higher caliber for your curiosity, what you're keeping up with, your skill sets, your ability to keep your clients happy, but also have a good roster, to be in the industry, to know what's going on. Because you keep this caliber and you master the skill of how to sell your services, when and if you lose a client, it's easy for you to secure a new one. On top of that, you have referrals. You can do this great thing now in 2025, which is build a personal brand online. So you can have a wait list of people who are interested in working with you or thought of working with you. And you can just press some buttons, send an email and be like, hey, I'm open for work. And what do you know? You can get some inbound leads. It really is that simple. And that mindset in and of itself is an insurance plan. In fact, it gives you so much confidence. And also emotionally, there's this kind of weight lifted off of you because you know that you're really in the trenches, getting your hands dirty, working. Oftentimes as a freelancer, you have a closer connection to the needle movers in the business, the founders, the heads, the top dogs. So you have a clear understanding of the ins and outs of how these businesses work and what they need and what you can get better at to help ensure that. So when other opportunities come up, you have a lot to bring to the table. And again, you realize quickly with the way that the world is changing, you see somebody goes on Love Island, they build a big personal brand, they post their content, and all of a sudden they're the creative director or head of this at some big company, even if they had no experience or resume or whatever. Why? Because it doesn't matter as much as, can you do what you say you can do? Do you have leverage? Do the right people know that you are good at a thing and can do the thing? Because if they do, you're good to go forever. Listen to what I just said. Do the right people know that you can do the thing, that you offer the thing, and are really good at the thing? That's what really matters at the end of the day. That's why as a 25-year-old, I have 7-figure founders of big beauty brands, of agencies who reach out to me to work with me or refer me to their friends because, one, they know I exist. I have proof. I've executed the thing that they greatly need before. So it doesn't matter if I have this massive marketing degree because it doesn't really mean anything. And again, you can't be a freelance doctor. I mean, surely probably like 10-ish years, that's going to be a bigger thing. I'm sure it exists in some capacity now. So let's not be dumb here. We're talking about specific industries. But ultimately, freelancing isn't just a career. It's kind of like a backup plan. I just listened to the episode of Hot, Smart, Rich with the founder of Tower 28. And she mentioned how she went on a job hiatus for 4 years when she had children. She talked about how that changed her identity. But in the midst of that, she was consulting, AKA freelancing. She never fully let go of her work, which allowed her to bring an income into the household, but to stay in the loop, to stay courageously curious. And then that helped her in her pursuit of building the business after her 4-year hiatus. She mentioned that she had friends who really struggled to get back into the workforce after they took some time off to raise their children because so much can happen so fast. In the industry, in the time that we're in now, at the pace that this world is moving, it's important to stay in the zone. My decision to freelance came from, yes, not getting a job and seeing people online doing things and the great resignation. But when I thought about my future and I was trying to backtrack, okay, what do I truly want? I don't want to have to worry about going back to work. I want to have the freedom when I have kids. I won't have to worry about going back to work. I would love a life where I could work with clients and have the freedom to be at home and take care of my kids and do all the things. So my decision came out of a mixture of those things, not a hard life realization. But there are loads of women in my community and education program, She Freelances, that did experience the harsh realities of the workforce. Most memorably, one of our early members, one of the big drivers of her deciding to leave a 9-to-5 and to freelance full time was after a close family member of hers passed away and she was having difficulty taking off work to go to the funeral, even though she was a fully dedicated, amazing employee who had great relationship with the people she worked with. That was an eye-opener. Another one of our early members' dog needed surgery and she was just not making enough to cover that at her regular job. So she started freelancing on the side to allow her to do that. Another example of why, even if you don't want to freelance full time, although I think a lot of us will be forced to in the coming years, it's good to have a skill that just requires your time and your brain to earn some extra income. You don't have to go start this whole e-commerce business or do manual labor, anything like that. You could literally just sit down in your bed on your laptop and make a lot of extra money. Other girls who are just in really high demanding jobs, the finance, who are so smart, who have a lot of ideas, but who are just completely drained of working crazy hours, but also feeling so defeated. Like they're making all this money, but they have to ask for permission to live their life or to use it in the way that they want to. All these women are in completely different places in the world, but they root back to the same exact thing, just having self-trust. So if you're thinking, okay, Danae, I'm hearing you, I'm on board, but how do I do this without blowing up my life? It feels so scary. How could I ever make such a change? You did this, you didn't leave a 9-to-5, you don't know what's at stake. I have children, I have responsibilities, I'm paying my bills, blah, blah, blah. I hear you. So let's talk about what it could look like to leave your current circumstances, your 9-to-5 or your job responsibly. As I said, I've actually never worked a corporate job, but as someone who's built a community and education program for freelancers, I've spoken to a lot of women who have or are in the process of, and also have experts come into the community to share their information as well. So from these conversations, these are the kind of things that come up. Now, I think there's a couple layers. There's a mental and emotional layer, and then there's actual practical financial layer. So let's cover both of those things. So from an emotional standpoint, I talk about freelancing all the time. I'm that freelancing freak girl who's always yapping about it because it changed my life in so many ways because it made me work inwards and confront all of my limiting beliefs. If you're choosing to maybe go against the grain or do something that people don't really understand or see as safe or secure, you're forced to really build up self-trust and see the vision and understand. But also, as a cause, you have to implement this discipline and grit to get you where you want, because it's not that just you believe this is true. Okay, now you have to actually act on it and do the work that brings you to the end goal. So it took me a while to figure out, okay, how do I ask these freelance clients for $3,000 and then $10,000 and revenue share and so on and so forth? At every stage, the beginner, the 21-year-old me who started freelancing could never even imagine the kind of setups that I have with clients now. It was a learning process, and it made me think I had to invest in learning the skill because I wasn't in corporate with the skill. I didn't go to school for the skill that I offer now. Then I had to get good at sharing why I'm the best fit. I had to get good at selling that and then being comfortable with money. Knowing that the value of it didn't matter how long it took me, it mattered what it brought to the business. Getting bullied, not really having belief or trust in yourself or your abilities, that's all going to show up in your journey. So it's really important to tackle that. And then also think about your driving forces. So when I think about me freelancing, it's just like, yeah, I want to, live this life of freedom in some capacity in my 20s and blah, blah, blah. But I imagine the life that I'm going to have as a mother, as a wife, one where I'm contributing to the family, but hopefully being able to give a lot of my time to build up my family. This is truly important to me. And I know that in the job that I would have, it wouldn't allow me to do that in the way that I want. So this version of myself that doesn't exist yet is who I'm working for. I can also see that the world is changing. And I know that the facts matter more than how I feel. So whether I feel comfortable in a 9 to 5 or working a 9 to 5 doesn't matter as much as what is actually happening. Okay, AI is probably going to take this job out in 5 years. I'm speaking in, pretending I'm some of the viewers here. What industry are you in? How AI proof is it? Is any industry AI proof? What could work look like in 5 to 10 years? And if things were to change, what is your game plan? So I think that helps emotionally. And then moving forward financially, you have to become brutally honest with your numbers. So when I started to freelance, I had a spreadsheet with all of the money I was making, all of my debt, my trajectory, the goals I had, how much I wanted to make, how much I wanted to spend on my apartment, my living expenses, and all these things. I had it written out to an absolute T. So I got really clear on how much I needed to baseline survive and then to be living really well. And I could reverse engineer my offers, my packaging, and the way I approached my freelance business to fit this. It wasn't a clear, perfect picture, believe me, but it was a good starting point. And even if you're in a traditional job, you should have this. A lot of people aren't maximizing their jobs in the way that they could, investing into their TFSA, or I think it's a Roth IRA. I forget what it's called in the UK. They're not maximizing it because they have this illusion of safety and predictability in their job. So they kind of let go of ownership, right? I actually think because I freelance and I had to take charge of everything, think about retirement, think of paying my taxes as a freelancer, think of all of these things. I am owning all of this, meaning I have more confidence in everything that I'm doing because I'm not relying on anyone else to make those decisions for me. I have up to 6 months of savings at all time, and I'm diversifying the places that I'm investing in. I'm doing this and that because I own fully this part of my life. So regardless of what you're going to do with this information, I think is important. From there, if you do have saving, this amazing message came from one of our expert masterclasses at Well by Cami. She mentioned that she saw her dipping into her savings to pursue her freelance creative entrepreneur life journey as a loan to herself rather than as something negative or a failure. It's actually there for you to use it. It's like as if you were to go out, you're going to start a business, you go to a VC to get funding, or you go to a payday loan company. It's like you're just doing that with yourself. And if you're going to take this leap, you must believe that you're going to be able to make that bunch of savings back at some point times 10 times over your journey. So that's another mental and financial reframe that you can use to help you take the leap responsibly. Then if you don't have this cushy savings to dip into and to see see it as a loan, well, then working towards that. I think the emotional aspect of knowing you have a cushion is very powerful. I really don't encourage any of my girls and she freelances to freelance out of scarcity or survival. So working with people that pay you pennies or who are horrible or don't really align with your values for the sake of money. I always say, go get a serving job, go work as a bartender, go do this and that. So you have that income until you find the right fit, because the right fit will completely change the trajectory. It will allow you to do better work, build up your portfolio in a way that gets you better clients in the future and all the things. The wrong client will drain you in every area of your life, which will ultimately just ruin the future and your trajectory as well. So I say that to say it's okay to downgrade. You should see downgrading as a win in order to build up that cushion that you're looking for. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to move back home with my family. If this is an option, I know that's a privilege. Not everyone has this, but if you have that opportunity, move back home with your family or to live with a friend and pay rent and downgrade your life from what you see it now. Isn't 1, 2, 3 years of that worth it for a lifetime of freedom and autonomy in a way, and designing and owning and being the author of your life, being the main character of your life? Isn't that worth it? That's how I saw it from my journey. I was living at home. I didn't have fun with friends in the way that I might have in my early 20s if I didn't have this goal in mind. The goal in mind was the version of myself right now, which honestly gives me chills. Mentally, though, I know that in order for me to feel safe, to not be anxious about money and etc., I need to have a certain amount of savings. I need to have a clientele. I needed to have different income streams. And I learned this over time in my journey. So in the process of me being very frugal and budgeting and saving, no matter what anybody, the young people around me or my friends and family thought, I saw it as a win for me and I saw the vision. So it was very easy to stick to it. Truthfully, it's the most strategic main character move you can make. If you need to just go backtrack a little to just get a grip so you can go, I mean, that's what it's all about. In fact, that's the part of the story that builds the character up to be able to actually then survive as the main character. Because the main character's life isn't all fine, happy, dandy, cool, go lucky. It's actually oftentimes harder, but it doesn't feel that way because you went through the process of building yourself up financially and mentally to get where you want. Now, in reality, freelancing is not that hard. It is really not that hard. The reason why you need to think like this and do all these things is because, again, from the beginning, you were taught from a very young age to look at money, life, work a certain way. And then financially, if you've been living that way for so long, it's going to be difficult to make that switch. Once you get into it and you make the switch, you realize that it really isn't that hard. It's a different hard maybe, or it's a different way to look at things. But when you're optimizing for freedom and ownership, it's a good hard to be in. You need all these different things and you need to think of things in this way because the world isn't fully set up for this yet. But as the script is changing, you want to be ahead. Instead of waiting 10 years down the line, someone's like, hey, the world's been changing. What have you been doing? Well, these are the new rules now. Sorry about that. And you're stuck in some weird position. You want to be the person who is on top of that, who's in the front of the line, actually, who's creating the path. Think about it. There are literally creators posting random videos online, making millions of dollars. I'm talking cutting wood with a beard. That's like a niche that somebody out there is making $1 million from in a variety of ways. And they make TikToks and they have TikTok brand deals and they have a community and they have this and that didn't exist before. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, they're going to be broke and on the street in 5 years. The world is actually changing where that's not the case. Creators are becoming the media companies. The television networks and traditional media is dying. This is the new script that is being created. And with that old mindset of, oh, like that's not how things work, so it's not going to continue working, that's what's going to keep you behind. It's not that we can predict the future. I don't know what AI is going to do, but it's clear as day obvious that whatever the old script was of work and how you make money is not going to exist anymore. That's something we can all agree on. So while things aren't getting more predictable, you can continue to stay curious. You can get stronger. It may not be glamorous in the beginning. You're going to have to do a lot of math. You're going to have to put your pride aside. You're going to have a lot of conviction. But wow, all of those things kind of just make you a better person, low key, you know? Freelancing as a vehicle for this thing that just makes you attack your lower self and evolve. Freelancing makes you more capable, keeps you in control rather than constantly seeking comfort. It makes you seek proof in yourself, in the world, to look at facts rather than some fantasy that you make up because you're scared to admit the facts. And then it allows you to build leverage, which is different from a traditional job title. Leverage in that People can't look away. The proof you've built is so tangible, you don't even need a resume. That is the difference. And once you prove to yourself that you can generate income from one skill, the world that opens up in your mind is insane. And you'll never, ever, ever think you have to beg a person or a company for security. You become your own security. And that is truly the safest bet. The safest bet you can make today is you. Alrighty, that's it. I'm gonna leave it here. Make sure that if you're watching this in real time and you liked this video, definitely don't forget to sign up for the workshop on November 24th, which is linked in the description. And you're probably gonna like the video that's on the screen somewhere here. YouTube is pretty good at predicting what videos you're gonna like. So I'll talk to you in a few seconds in that video. Bye.